Hey everybody, Mike with Games Play Badly, and today on Session 0 I have Levi from Talarius Gaming. He has a brand new game that he has developed that is going to be kickstarting here in the next few days, and it's called The Legend of Kralis. Now, think about, as far as game setting goes, magic and mechanics and all sorts of crazy spells, and couple that with a unique actual combat system and success system for your skills and all sorts of things. Plus, on top of that, the actual campaign setting, the worlds, and I said worlds, that are out there for you to explore. I think we talked about in the interview, and we said it was kind of like Final Fantasy 14 from that standpoint of technology and magic. If that interests you, then you definitely need to stay with me. The interview is fantastic. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be going onto his Twitch stream in a few days to go ahead and create my own character. So I got a chance to figure out all that stuff as well. So looking forward to that. I also have my Dungeon Glitch shirt on. Matt has been so kind as to provide a few shirts for me, and I keep on buying them. This is super soft fabric, and the artwork is always amazing. If you want a shirt like this, go to gemfirefly.com. Search around, find all the shirts that you want, and at the end, when you go to check out, put in our code BADLY15, BADLY 15 for 15% off your order. One quick funny thing about this interview is it was done already. We had a conversation earlier in the week, but I forgot to record it. Thanks, COVID. I have a little bit of COVID brain going on. So, but I did record this interview, I guarantee it. So, can't wait for you to get a chance to meet Levi. That interview starts now. Levi, how are you?
Good, Mike, and how are you?
Very good. I'm going to say something embarrassing because I screwed up and we did an entire interview and I did not hit record. So okay. This is our take 2. Hopefully it's as good as the first one, but I think it should be far more effective, I think, since we talked about everything already.
Yep. Hopefully.
So now you're with your company is named Talarius Gaming.
That is correct.
Talarius is actually Latin for dice game.
So it's Latin. And it is to pertain of or pertaining to dice.
Okay, there you go. That makes sense. So your game's called Legends of Kralis, correct?
Yes, the Legends of Kralis.
So why don't you tell me more about the game? I know the game is unique in several different ways, and why don't you go and tell me more about that?
All right, well, so Legends of Kralis is a heroic ether punk fantasy, sci-fi fantasy game system. It's a complete gaming system. Comes with 3 books: the Player's Guide, the Game Master's Guide, and a bestiary that uses all our mechanics for that. And it's meant to take over the spot of being able to play a science fantasy game that kind of combines high fantasy along with super futuristic science fiction, and everything that's in between that is based off of the use of spells or magical energies to fuel different things that are happening. Everything from levitation bikes to gigantic void ships that travel between the planets. And that was everything else.
It's something you had mentioned that I thought was put a perfect point on this was you're likening it to the fantasy of like Final Fantasy 14.
Final Fantasy 14. That's probably where if I were to actually say, if you were to watch a show to best get the feeling of it, it would definitely be the movie the Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 14. That's really where I feel, especially the opening 10 minutes of that that movie is really what the feel of Legends of Kralis is about.
Yeah, I thought that was great. As soon as you told me that, I totally got and I kind of already had an idea, but once you said that, I was like, aha, okay, now I've got an idea of what we're looking at. So now the mechanics in the game are unique from the standpoint of it's based on a success system. Why don't you explain that to me?
I'm kind of like an old grog nerd in the sense that I've actually played the World of Darkness games as well, and I love their pool D10s. Same with Shadowrun with their pool of D6s, but I didn't like rolling so many dice and then having to figure out, all those. And what we did is we developed a 2D10 system that emulates a score between 0, 1, and 0, 0, which is 100. And then for every 10 below you get your skill, that you roll, you gain one success. So if you have a let's say a skill of 65 and you roll a 32, you've got 4 successes that allows to drive the narrative either combatively or socially in whatever direction it needs to go. It's that simple. It's not like you have to, it's not like some dice mechanics where you have to, match this dice with that dice, or this dice cancels that dice. It just is what it is. And everybody rolls underneath, and the more successes you get, the better the outcome is.
So the further away on the low side from what your actual skill is how many successes you get based off how far away you are. So let's say 65 and you roll a 10, then you'd have what, 5 successes?
5 successes, yes.
There's also something interesting about weapons from the standpoint, or anything that you would use as a weapon, is there's base damage. So let's say, for instance, a bottle or something like an improvised weapon would be a base damage of 1.
Right.
How does that all function?
So let's say, using your example of you've got a 65 and you roll a 10, you'd have 5 successes, and all you do is multiply the base damage of whatever item you're using, and that could be anything the GM desires, right? It could be a book, it could be a can of soda, and they say, okay, it does X number of damage per success. In this case, using a bottle, which we've actually got, does 3 points of base damage per success, would do 15 points of damage. And then anything, if you're not wearing armor, you would take that. If you're wearing armor, it would soak some of that, and some of it would come through. And in some cases, you'd hit somebody with armor, and it would shatter upon their chest plate and do no damage to them. But now you've got their attention.
Right, exactly. So I mean, that's all the combat side, and the dice side. I mean, from the dice side of things, I mean, sorry, dice goblins, but you don't need much more than just a couple 10-sided die.
All you need is 2d10 to roll everything in the system. The GM may require, like a D4, maybe a D6, because we do what's called timers. And sometimes, you roll a D6 or D4 to say, okay, in 4 turns, this is going to happen. You've got this impending doom. But other than that, all you ever need is 2d10 to figure out everything, including even saying, like, you go to throw the bottle, and you want to know, how far did you throw it? Did you miss? And so let's say you failed and you missed. Well, we know how far you threw it, and we know how far, we know which direction you threw it, just by looking at the 2d10.
Right, exactly. There are a whole bunch of tables in here that you can reference from that standpoint, but it's actually kind of going through it. It's relatively straightforward.
Right. It really is. We've known for a long time that it may seem like it's really difficult maths for people, but in the end, it just comes down to just knowing how many successes you get and multiplying it times whatever. And sometimes it's not even multiplication. It's, hey, you need to hit this thing. You're going to need 4 successes worth to do so. And then you can just roll. And if you hit 4 or more successes, you hit the thing. But let's say you don't actually get 4 successes. You don't necessarily fail. You just fail. You can succeed, but with some sort of issue happening. Let's say that you're trying to hack the lock off with your sword, and you need 4 successes to do so, and you only get 2. Well, you don't hack it off, or you've broken it, but you've broken it in such a way now that the lock is twisted, and you just can't. Now the door is stuck. You've broken the lock off, but the locking mechanism itself is twisted, right? Like somehow you damaged it. Now there's another complication.
Yeah, you basically added difficulty to the next try to go ahead and open the door.
Right.
So I know that the game itself is classless, meaning there aren't any really defined classes. You have a whole bunch of skills. You have a whole bunch of things that differentiate your character, but there's not a hard and fast fighter, mage, thief. Although there are templates in the books to help you make that and tell you what skills to take if you want to do that.
So we're a completely classless system, but we do have something that gets fairly close to classes, which is called focuses. So as a player, you would choose to either be a combat focused knowledge focus, stealth focus, social focus. And these are as close to classes as we get, because they allow you to say, okay, my character is a combat focused individual. So they're going to be looking at taking a whole bunch of combat abilities or combat skills. Perhaps they are a stealth individual, and stealth covers everything from assassins to thieves, could include bards, though bards tend to be more of a social class anyway. And then you would focus on abilities and skills that were stealth focused or have a stealth element to them. So you would get bonuses to those. And then you would also be able to take, well, anybody can take an ability, but your abilities for stealth would be cost less for you than it would for other people.
So yeah, if you want to take something that's outside of your archetype, it costs more to take those then.
Right, correct.
Okay. Now we also talked about something that I found interesting, and we kind of talked about at the tail end of the last non-recorded interview, but philosophy. Why don't you explain that to me? I know it's kind of like alignment, but it's not.
Right. So alignment, works really well for Dungeons and Dragons in the sense of, knowing where people sit in their law, chaos, evil, good area. What we decided, because we looked at the world, not only our real world, but gaming worlds in general. And most players don't want to be truly constrained by a specific alignment. So we decided to go with philosophy, and we decided there are 3 types of philosophy in the world. There's good, there's evil, and then there's neutral. And so neutral is the most open to everybody, right? It allows people to actually do what they want to do. Sometimes they do some good, sometimes they do some bad, but they're neutral. That even includes most of the animals, in fact, all the animals, most beasts, most monstrous humanoids, and some monsters are neutral in their aspect to the world. To be good, you have to work to be good. To be evil, you have to work to be evil, because we track that through philosophy points. And some deities require you to actually be actively good. You can't just say, well, I'm following, Bahamut because they're a good deity, but don't do anything good towards them. This actually forces you to have to do good deeds, and vice versa. If you're evil, you have to work to be evil. And evil doesn't necessarily always mean burning down the local orphanage and those kind of things, but it does mean that you're working, right? You're working towards an evil agenda. Right. Some of the most charismatic people in the world have been very evil, but from their perspective, they're not. Right. So we developed that system to replace the concept of alignment.
And I find that really interesting. And on kind of talking about that, I mean, character creation. I know that on your stream, you actually go through and do character creation with multiple people. Hopefully I'm next at some point, because I want to create a character. But character creation in this game is actually pretty fun. I know there are a whole host of playable races. Why don't you describe that creation process for me?
That's unfair. So the creation process is really where we front load most of the game mechanics and most of the game crunch in character creation. As a new player, it'll take you 35, 40 minutes to figure it out. If you've got someone who's there with you, it could take you an hour or so. If you don't, you're reading through the book. But what we've designed it is to do a walkthrough, right? You start with picking a species, because the species is the core of who you are. Then you go and you pick your focuses, because that helps you determine what direction you want to go. Then you pick your philosophies, your aspects, your motivations, your skills, and then your ability. And that's essentially your character. You have a fully fledged character with a partial background already built in by the time you're done. So for example, one of the characters I like to play a lot is the Assyrians, which are a 4-armed species. And I like to play them with a stealth focus, because I like to play them as a Jinhur, which is another type of magic. It's not really magic. It's more of an internal energy, and play them using some abilities such as the Indara energies and Kuja Rakai focuses, which allow me to kind of create a force wielding individual.
Right.
That I like to play. I also do that with the Tajahu, who are also another species that I like. So it just depends on where you want to go. And one of the interesting concepts that I think is interesting, you can take two players who are going to play the same species and end up with nearly opposite end characters, even though they're playing the same species, because of the different combinations that you have within there. You start off with two species abilities, you pick two focus abilities that you get, and then you get to choose your own ability that makes you that much more different. Now, if you're all playing spellcasters, then you're all going to kind of go down the same path, and then it can start to diverge on where you go with that. But for the most part.
Well, now, and so characters don't level up, they rank up, right?
Well, rank and level, it's simultaneous, but we try to use the term rank to differentiate ourselves from using level than other game systems.
Sure. And with every new rank, you get new abilities.
So every new rank, so every even rank, you gain a new ability, some heroic luck, and the ability to take some rank bonuses, which can increase your health, can increase your fatigue, can improve an attribute if you like, and gain additional heroic luck, lose an insanity if you spend the time doing it, retrain an ability to take another ability, those kind of things. And then every odd rank, starting at third, you gain skill points to be able to increase your skills every other rank.
Your the world as a whole is only one component of the game setting. Why don't you tell me more about how your worlds are integrated?
So the world itself, so what I did is when we were creating the world, I wanted to keep it as realistic as possible, in as much as there's going to be advanced technology and magic in use. But what we did is we've actually created not just a world, but there's a whole omniverse full of different concepts that we've created, everything from other solar systems, other galaxies, planets, and then within the solar system. And the solar system that we set ourselves in, which is called A Sylvestris for us, is our 20 different planets.
There you go.
In the habitable section of the solar system, there are actually 9 different planets that are habitable by other species other than the world of Kralis itself. And then in the world of Kralis itself, it's got 6 different continents, and each of those continents have their own different conceptions and their own different lores and things like that of how they became. And then the main focus for all stories that I'm focusing on is in the world of Talos, or in the continent of Talos.
Yeah, I noticed in the beginning of the books, there are some maps right there for you, conveniently on hexagonal map blocks.
Map blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And those are actually designed. So on some of the maps that we'll ultimately be putting out, is one of those hexes is a 5-day journey for a medium-sized creature.
Wow.
The world itself is 1.5 times the size of our Earth in that sense. And Talos itself, from east to west coasts, is approximately 4,000 miles wide and 12,000 miles long. And so it takes time. And so what we've also developed is the ability to use magic to create gates that allow you to go from one location to another location fairly quickly, if that's what you do. And we also have airships that you can travel in. And if those are inconvenient, you can always try to hire out or purchase or steal a void ship, which will allow you to not only cruise around in the world, but also head out into the void, which is space. Beyond, and travel between planets and asteroid fields and deal with those creatures that exist out there as well.
Yeah, I think the world is, or the world as a whole, the setting as a whole, is ripe for exploration.
It is, and that's one of the things that I've tried to do, and I've tried to drop a lot of lore within the books themselves without being confined to a specific lore or a specific world, but give at least that concept, so you can actually take and go play wherever you want to play. But if you want to play in the world of Kralis or Talos, then there's this background and stuff that already exists for the world itself. And ultimately, we're going to be developing, and it's pretty much written. I've got a very large file that's almost 800 pages long of the world of Talos that people can, if they want to read, and read a lot, it's there. But yeah, it's the world. It's basically the world Bible where I can pull things from and information from to be able to create a more consistent and concise world for players to hang out in.
Yeah, I mean, you have a whole bunch of playable races.
15.
15 playable races. You have over 600 spells in as far as an arsenal goes for people to be able to use. You have a whole bunch of skills and proficiencies. It sounds like it's pretty well rounded.
I think it is. And there's always going to be that one if and one off concept. But for the most part, the rules as they are written are pretty stable. One of my very good friends, who's also a co-designer, literally, when we started doing this again, went through and broke the system. He would come to play in our games and like, I've got something for you. I'm like, what? No, you got to let me do it. No, what is it? And we'd literally stop the game and redesign it because he had broken the system in such a way. It's like, that shouldn't be happening.
Should be possible.
So he would break it and we rewrite it and then he'd go break it again. And we always found more things to break. But ultimately we got to a point where we're both pretty satisfied with the power curve and the power grades and the power within the game system itself. And a lot of people like to build very efficient characters, and some people won't be able to. In Legends of Kralis, it doesn't matter. If you could build the most efficient character you could build, and Legends of Kralis is still going to put you to the test. Because of the fact that we have the successes roll under success count system, because a small creature could potentially take out a very large creature with a single hit if they roll well enough. And of course, I'm not saying that you should let first rank characters take out your 25th rank awesome fighter, but it will put them to the test.
So now this game is coming to Kickstarter very, very soon. As a matter of fact, I think it's like 2 days from now.
Well, 5 days from now, February 1st. Yeah, February 1st at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And to be honest, I am very nervous.
I understand. I've interviewed quite a few people who've done Kickstarters, and it's nerve-wracking in the beginning. But I mean, as long as you're doing your absolute best, that's the best you can do, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And the rest is going to be up to all the karmic value that I put out into the universe, and hopefully it'll all come back to me. I mean,
right, exactly. So we have a Final Fantasy-esque setting, which is it's more than that, but it's a good theme. It's a good thematic reference. So let's talk about the artwork for the book. It's really, really good. Who are the artists that are part of this?
So the three main artists that I use for all three books are Joseph Garcia at the Art of Joseph Garcia, Eric Lofgren, and then Brian Brinley. And they are the ones that did almost all the art in all three of the books at some point or another. There are other artists that are there, but those three are the ones that I really leaned into the hardest. And Joseph Garcia is the actual main artist that did 90% of all the images in the B Street Guide. And he's a phenomenal artist. And if you have the opportunity, he does character concepts for people. So if you want your character drawn, reach out to him. He does amazing work. And he's actually a good friend of mine. We've actually hung out, actually brought him down to a convention. We hung out. And
I'll have all the links and information for all the artwork down below in the comments, in the description. So I know you're excited and nervous about your Kickstarter, but I think you're going to do just fine.
Well, thank you.
I know I'm interested. One of the benefits of me interviewing people is I tend to get a copy of things so I can read through it. I actually like the system myself, and I've already kind of read through it. So we might be playing that real soon.
I hope so. That'll be good. And I want you to come in and let's create a character. Let me torture you for a couple hours.
Absolutely. Look, it wouldn't be torture for me because I love character creation. So as make it as crunchy as you want to, because that's it's potato chips. I'll keep.
Yeah, no. One of the things that people have actually said, players who are both the new generation of players who play predominantly fifth or played third edition Dungeons and Dragons or 3.5 have said that they like the complexity and crunchiness that Legends of Kralis feels like without the over crunch and overcomplication of 3.5 or 3E,
Right.
combined with the ease of the dice roll that 5E tends to give. And there's a lot more room inside the actual rules themselves that allow a larger feel to how things work and how they succeed and how they might fail, that 5E doesn't give players. It's definitely not a pass or fail for us. It's a pass with success or fail with failures, right?
Right.
And things like that. And we actually have a really cool crit, hit, and fumble tables that are actually kind of cool. That allow you to get some serious damage done and actually have fun with some of the fumbles. They're not the standard fumbles, I think. They probably are, though. Who knows?
All right, Levi, we've come to that part of the show that I call my lightning round. Now I have some very hard-hitting questions I'm going to ask you. Just rattle off the answers. This just helps all of us get to know who you are a little bit. And the first thing is we're going to find out is if you're a cake or a pie guy.
Cake.
And your favorite cake, let me guess, vanilla cake with no frosting.
Yes, because you're cheating.
The same thing last time.
Yes, I don't like frosting. I never have.
I got you. I totally understand. I don't mind frosting. I don't like it when they overdo it. But
right,
out of all of the player races that you have in your game, which one is your favorite?
The series, the four-armed individuals species.
Are you a spring or a fall kind of person? Well, you're in Arizona, so it's basically the same, isn't it?
No, I was born and raised in Colorado.
Okay.
So I think fall. Fall.
I know that we've been talking about your game, but I know you've played D&D for a long time. What is your favorite D&D monster?
The Beholder.
I agree 1,000%.
I like the Beholder. I like the alienness of them. I like their ability to be things that the PCs aren't prepared for. I mean, we've all played the Beholder, and I've seen how the Beholder has grown all through the ages from 1977 all the way to present day. And they are, I think, are among the most awesome monsters out there that can really do some incredible things. The Mind Flayers are cool. They're very alien-esque. They're very, and I have a Cthulhu thing, so they're very Cthulhu-ish to me, but I just really like the Beholders.
Yeah, that anti-magic field in front of them is the greatest equalizer that was ever created.
Right, for Dungeons and Dragons, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, those are the only questions I have, but I appreciate you doing this a second time with me.
No, I appreciate us doing it a second time.
Yeah, it was far more efficient this time. I feel like we may have lost some spontaneity there, but I think the information was all good, and I am very pleased that you reached out to me, and I thank you for sending me the game so I could look at it, and I really appreciate that. And best of luck on your Kickstarter.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, and I hope you have good blessings and health and everything.
Now you have a tagline you use on your Twitch channel. What's
I
that?
do. So when we're done with the Twitch, and as we're leaving, and everybody says hi, goodbye, and some are chaotic and they say goodbye to themselves. I say, everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and as always, stay legendary.
There you go. Perfect way to cap off the interview. I will have all the link information down below to the Kickstarter, the artists, the webpage for Talarius, and whatever else is pertinent to the interview will all be down there. Throughout the interview, I've been showing you various artwork from the game and various other pages from the book, so that way you get an idea of what we're talking about. If you like this video, thumbs up, tossing a subscribe, so that way you can help me build additional content. Otherwise, thank you again, Levi, for coming out or coming on, I guess. And I wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike.